The first witness on the stand is Detective Hermosillo. Now, Detective Hermosillo becomes involved in the case of the missing kids when a neighboring county called Fremont County informs Rexburg PD that they're on the lookout for this Jeep that may have been involved in a shooting, and they track it back to a woman named Lori Vallow. At the time, Detective Hermosillo was not aware of JJ or Tylee. His job was simply to drive by this apartment complex and see if he could spot the Jeep, and if he saw the Jeep, he was supposed to confiscate it. So on November 4th of 2019, Detective Hermosillo and other detectives seized the Jeep. On November 18th of 2019, when the Arizona detectives went up to Idaho to search the Jeep, 2 weeks later, they asked if Detective had seen any children. On November 26, 2019, Detective Hermosillo and his partner, Detective Hope, decided to do a welfare check to see if JJ Vallow was with his mother, Lori Vallow, in her condo. When Detective Hermosillo and Detective Dave Hope arrived at Lori Vallow's condo to do a welfare check for JJ, they saw Chad Daybell and Alex Cox. Detective Hope knew who Chad Daybell was because his son is married to Chad Daybell's brother Matt's daughter. On November 4th, 2019, Detective Hermosillo and other detectives seized the Jeep. 2 weeks later, the detectives from Arizona flew up, and while looking for it, they mentioned about the little boy, JJ. So on November 26th, Detective Hermosillo and his partner, Detective Dave Hope, went to look at Lori Vallow's house to do a welfare check to see if they could find JJ. When they pulled up, they saw Chad Daybell, who is essentially kind of Detective Dave Hope's brother-in-law, and Alex Cox, who is Lori Vallow's brother. So they were aware who Alex Cox was, and it's hard to think that Detective Hope would not know who Tammy was. So when Detective Hermosillo was testifying, 1 minute he claimed they didn't know who Chad Daybell was. The next minute, 5 minutes later, he's saying, yeah, I did know that he had married Lori 2 weeks earlier. So which is it? I'm sure on John Pryor's case, he'll clear up all those issues. Matt Daybell lived 0.8 of a mile from Chad, and it's pretty hard to think that David Hope would not know, or that Detective Hope would not know that this Chad Daybell was his relative. So Detective Hermosillo's partner, Dave Hope, his son is married to Matt Daybell's daughter. Now, Matt Daybell is Chad Daybell's brother, and they live less than a mile apart. So from where Chad lived, if you go 0.8 of a mile to the river, and you will see Matt Daybell's house. Now, he may have moved since this trial, but this is where he lived at the same time. Interestingly enough, Matt Daybell had a neighbor we'll get into later who got in a zoning fight of a place called the 20-foot path, which also appears in my reading, but that will come later as well. Now, part of the reason it's important to understand the relationship with Detective Dave Hope, Detective Hermosillo, his partner, and Chad Daybell is because in my first reading, when I am describing Chad Daybell's house to a T, there is no possible way that anybody who listened to that would not know that that was Chad Daybell's house. And that first reading I did was uploaded January 31st, 2020. At the same time I uploaded the reading, I wrote a 10-page letter, which I also sent out to law enforcement in 5 states, including the governors, attorney generals, anybody I could, including the FBI and everybody else I could find an email or a tip line. Even Kay Woodcock, who is the bio grandmother, was running a tip line. Everybody knows, and I do have those emails. They are on my website about this case. It's called Lori Vallow Daybell.com, and you can see that for yourself. It does look like the Pacific Northwest with the big giant trees. I don't really see specifically the house. I just feel like it's kind of one of these modest, like, summer homes or whatever. Summer cabin, summer home, whatever. They want me to see off into the distance. So, like, from where I'm on this property that feels like it would be like there would be like a summer house there, like a smaller house, or it could even be a decent house or something. But it's the type of area where people would have like second homes, like where they take their kids for the summer and stuff. It has that kind of feeling. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's just the feeling of the vibe of the place. It's very peaceful, very peaceful. I feel like there's a little, like a front porch area, but it's not a raised up porch. They're showing me, and I can't be 100% sure that it's attached to the house on the lake, but I feel like it is. And I feel like it's not a porch that's raised up, like wooden, porch, like on the Craftsman house or whatever. It's more like just flat. It could be brick or something. It's either brick or concrete. It might have like a foot-high kind of brick border around the little area, and then it might be big enough outside the front door to have like a couple chairs where maybe a couple ladies might be sitting and talking or something. It could be a little bigger than that, but that's just a feeling I get. I'm seeing these things and I see bits and pieces. So then if you see it and it's like 10 feet big and you're like, oh no, she said a little porch. No, this is what I see. I see pieces of this front porch. I almost feel like the house may have been, it feels to me, it's definitely built between the 50s and the 70s. I feel like it's a one-story, but it could be now a two-story. Like maybe someone came along later and added one more, a bedroom on half the house or whatever. So that's why if I said one story and then you see a two-story and you're like, oh no, that's not it. Well, that's why. It might even still be painted two different colors. Like if the bottom story has one color of paint and then that addition has like still, they left it like wood brown where you stain the wood or whatever, something like that. Like I said, they use whatever images they can find in my consciousness, they pull up. So they're standing there scanning my consciousness and pulling up, oh, here's a summer house Donna saw before. Let's show her that one. And then they're like, oh, here's a little detached garage. Let's show Donna these decorations because she one time saw a detached garage like that. But one thing like with that detached garage, it's definitely detached from the house. You identify that house. There could possibly be an attached garage to the house or attached those carport things. That's possibility. I don't see it, but I don't know. But maybe this thing that looks like a garage and it's about the size of a garage was built to be a workshop, right? For a hobbyist. Because it has a workbench on all three sides. And that they show me over and over. So that I know is not just a picture from my mind. That is an important element. So that's another thing about recognizing the level of how much the spirits are emphasizing something over and over and over and over. He's like literally there's a garage and off a building not connected to the little house, the little summer house. It could be a permanent house, but that's the type and style and the feeling I have. That's all. The garage part is not connected to the main house. It's like considered an outbuilding. Okay, so I feel that the wood, you'd recognize it right away because it's like when the siding is plywood, but then they thought they were being decorative, so they would take a 1-inch by 2-inch boards and put them evenly spaced on the outside and then paint the whole thing like that's a kind of decorated garage building. But inside, it's not really meant to park cars, at least the way it's set up, because it has a workbench around 3 sides of it. And it feels like he had the daughter's body on that workbench and he's literally chopping it up. He's got plastic everywhere, but it seems to me there would be like so much blood evidence there. Now, when Detective Pryor does the cross-exam of Hermosillo, he's really trying to hone in on how did you get these red flags to do this investigation just because you pulled up and Chad Daybell is there with Alex Cox. First, it sounded like to me that Detective Hermosillo was saying he didn't know Chad Daybell, but then 5 minutes later, he's saying, yes, I did know him, and I was aware that he had married Lori Vallow 2 weeks earlier. So I think most likely, just considering his partner was almost a brother-in-law to Chad Daybell, I'm thinking the later is correct. That he did know that when they pulled up, they were like, oh, that jerk. Do you know his wife just died and 2 weeks later he got married? Like literally, Chad Daybell's wife dies on October 19th. And Chad Daybell goes and gets married to Lori Vallow on November 5th in Hawaii. And to top it off, they were aware by then, I'm sure, I would think that they were aware by then, that Charles Vallow, Lori's husband, had also been shot by Lori's brother in July of 2019. So there's some red flags as to, you look at this case and you're like, gosh, I don't know, I never seen so many cops running around door to door because some grandparent somewhere hasn't talked to their kid in 6 months. Right? But in this case, there's a family relationship, and it may have been distance because Matt claims that he distanced himself from Chad earlier before all this happened due to the fact that he felt Chad's ideas were a little out there. Now, the truth of that, I don't know. But either way, none of those people are guilty in the crime except the people who committed it. So I'm not trying to imply there's anything. I'm just saying this is the reason for the red flags. This is the thing that I think John Pryor was trying to search for. This is the thing that I see commentators on court channels and trial channels. They're trying to search for the actual truth, and they're not getting it because it's never been put out. I have lots of truth to share with you as I go through this trial with a fine-tooth comb, and I show you how my readings played into it. And in addition, my argument is that my readings prove the afterlife. If you're looking for the timestamp of where Detective Hermosillo on the stand first says he didn't know Chad Daybell, that's around 28 minutes, and then it's around 33 to 35 minutes where he's saying, oh yes, we did know who he was, and we knew that he had married Lori Vallow 2 weeks before. So in an investigation of Lori Vallow, you may or may not know that, but with the town talk, with the relationships with Detective Dave Hope's brother-in-law being Chad's brother, right? He's going to know a little more than just the average detective. And so that's where the red flags, and maybe that's where the extra effort into the investigation took its turn. Okay, so the testimony goes on, and they move to where Detective Hope and Detective Hermosillo are suspicious, so they go and get search warrants to search the 3 condominiums. Now, the 3 condominiums, one belongs to Lori, one belongs to her brother Alex, and one belongs to her niece, Melanie Pulowski now, but used to be Melanie Boudreau, which is Brandon Boudreau's ex-wife. So Lori lived in unit 175, Melanie Pulowski lived in 174, and Alex lived in 107, but it looked kind of like he was staying at Lori's. Now, in the description of the search, they also talk about JJ's room having 2 twin beds, and that caught my attention. They didn't say a bunk bed, and I have been waiting through all this to see if any of these units had a bunk bed, because if it did, that's the unit where JJ was killed. And it's clear he was killed there. And that came up in my readings again 4 months before the remains were found, at a time when the general public believed that the children were in a prepper camp or with other relatives or friends, and when the police were still asking for help, okay? So they find Alex's stash of weapons in Lori's condo, And they don't really find a lot more. It's an inhabited condo. It has furniture. It looks like people have recently been there. They do find evidence of JJ's existence, that he must have been there at one time, but nobody's there. And what catches their attention also is that all the clothes are taken off the hanger, so it looks like somebody made a hasty exit, which is true. Now, the one thing that stands out from my readings about this whole search of the condo is that on the first reading I did with Crescia Easton, who is Kay Woodcock's daughter, she's Charles Vallow's biological niece, and this reading was at her request, as were all the readings I did with her were at her request and urgency, and trying to get information. We both wanted to, because I had already done a couple of readings and said, look, this girl is in my living room. This spirit girl is in my living room telling this outrageous story, and I'm trying to get help. And so Crescia did come through, and as well as Joe Ryan's cousin came through. So quite a few different people came through. Angeline, who you may see testify, one of Lori's friends, I did a reading with her. So I'm doing a reading with all these people. And one of the things in the first reading I did with Crescia is Charles Vallow was really urgently, or really insistently, persistently, I guess is the word, he was trying to tell us about this location, a certain location that was important. He perfectly described, or he was perfectly able to show me visions of the airport museum that was directly across the street from the storage unit rented by Lori Vallow. And it's actually called Airport Road. So the address of the storage unit is Airport Road. And across the street is the Airport Museum. And they have all kinds, and they even have a runway, and they have small planes taking off. So that's one airport and pilot connection, although you'll see that later there's more, as in Lori's trial. The neighbor, who is a pilot, testified. And so to let you know, I had been in contact with him and his wife for months before they found the remains. I couldn't get them to come forward then because they didn't believe me about Chad. But after on June 9th, after they found the remains, a couple days later, Alice, a few days after June 9th, when they had found the remains of the children on Chad Daybell's property, Todd Gilbert's wife wrote me, and she told me, she said, look, I just want you to know, I'm sorry we didn't believe you, but we both went to the FBI because of you. We came forward, and we both went and bought notebooks, and we have them on the table in case we remember anything more about Chad. So you'll see Todd Gilbert most likely testify in this trial, and that has to do with me as well. Apparently, there's some question as to whether I helped, contributed, or had anything to do with, or even if any of my work is even related to this case, and I'm going to set the record straight.
And what did you observe when you got over there?
I observed ERT marking off, they had already marked off probably a 6x6 section. The best way I can describe it is there was taller shrubs in the middle of the 6x6 section. It looked like there was just a little bit of grass, probably the length of sod, and some dirt protruding through the grass, but there were no taller shrubs like on the outside of the section.
What happened next?
The ERT team began excavating that site. They removed a top layer of soil, took off the shrub and the top level of dirt.
And what did you see under that?
At that point, you could see what appeared to be 3 large white rocks. And as soon as they did that, we could start to smell the odor that, through my training experiences in decomposing body.
Let's talk about that. Have you, on other occasions through your work, smelled the decomposing body?
Unfortunately, yes, I have.
And is there a distinctive smell to you that you associate with that?
There is.
And it's your testimony that as that first layer of ground was lifted off, you began to smell that.
That's correct.
What did you observe next?
After they slowly and methodically dug around the light rocks, they were removed. ERT took pictures and measurements. They continued to dig down. Right below the layer of rocks were 2 pieces of thin wood paneling. Just right below the rocks.
Were you still able to smell that smell you had described?
Yes, as they dug down, it got stronger.
Were those boards removed?
They were.
What did you observe after that?
So after the boards were removed, you could see the discoloration of dirt. So you had dry dirt, and then underneath the boards was like a wet, moist type dirt. So it was pretty obvious there, the distinction between the soil.
Then what happened?
They continued to brush away the wet soil. And at that point, you could start to see a black round object start to protrude through the dirt.
And describe that object. About what size was it?
Initially, it just looked like a littler black round object. They dug down further carefully, and it appeared to take shape of the crown of a human head.
What did you do after that, or what did you observe once that was uncovered?
So once the black round object was uncovered, at that point, the ERT team leader, Steve Daniels, got a small, sharp instrument and made a slit in the black plastic. He kind of opened that up just a little bit, not to damage or manipulate any of the evidence. But underneath the black plastic was another white layer of plastic. So he used that same instrument and got a slit down the white plastic and kind of opened it up. And at that point, it looked to be brown human hair.
After that was discovered, what happened next?
As soon as that was discovered, we received information on the radio that the defendant Daybell was leaving his daughter's residence, which was catty corner to his residence, at a high rate of speed. And at that point, Mr. Daybell was pulled over and subsequently placed in custody.
Did you go back to the site where what appeared to be a human head was located?
I did. When I got back to what we ended up calling burial site, they continued to excavate around that black plastic. And after they excavated and took the dirt off the plastic, it revealed what appeared to be a small body wrapped in black plastic with duct tape around it.
And then I'm feeling like the mom putting, going, it's okay, to the boy, it's okay, everything's all right, it's okay, everything's all right. And then just, she has some like giant plastic bag and she just puts it over his head really fast and starts wrapping something around. I don't know if it's tape or what. And then the father sees that she's going gung-ho on that, and so he runs over to help her. Like, they pin him down, and the father's trying to, or the man's trying to pinch his nose so he can't breathe.
And so that's at the doorway of where I think there's bunk beds there. But there's a bedroom, the boys' bedroom. I'm not 100% sure if he shares it with the girl or not, but I feel like there's those kind of bunk beds or something where the bottom bed's a little whiter and the comforters are navy blue. So she's leading him back into the bedroom when she kind of does that from behind, and then the stepfather jumps in to help with that. And I think that's probably why they ended up with the black plastic all over the boy, because it kind of started out that way. You know, I don't know if it was a leaf bag or what, which would mean total premeditation. Like, why would she have a leaf bag in the house? And back past where they'll find the boy's body, probably wrapped in this black plastic with the ropes. I think he's smashing her skull with the butt of an axe, or the handle part of an axe. He wants to crush it so no one can recognize it, so the birds take it away and stuff. And then I'm feeling like the mom putting, going, "It's okay," to the boy. "It's okay. It's okay. Everything's all right. It's okay. Everything's all right." And then she has some like giant plastic bag and she just puts it over his head really fast and starts wrapping something around. I don't know if it's tape or what. And then the father sees that she's going gung-ho on that, and so he runs over to help her. Like, they pin him down, and the father's the man's trying to pinch his nose so he can't breathe. And so that's at the doorway of where I think there's bunk beds there. But there's a bedroom, the boys' bedroom. I'm not 100% sure if he shares it with the girl or not, but I feel like there's those kind of bunk beds or something where the bottom bed's a little whiter and the comforters are navy blue. So she's leading him back into the bedroom when she kind of does that from behind, and then the stepfather jumps in to help with that. And I think that's probably why they ended up with the black plastic all over the boy, because it kind of started out that way. You know, I don't know if it was a leaf bag or what, which would mean total premeditation. Like, why would she have a leaf bag in the house? And I'm trying to see. Okay, I'll just say what they showed me. Okay, so I'm seeing Lori is the person who did it. She put the bag over the head. She also feels like she did the duct tape. Like, she just goes like full bore steam ahead. She's got, you would think she would have done the duct tape first, but I'm seeing her cases like she puts that bag over his head and she's like twisting it around, trying to like make sure he can't get air. And then I know some man is there, and I wonder if it's Chad. I'm not sure. No, I'm not getting any energy about that. Okay, so okay, I'll just get, because I know there's someone man there that comes and helps her, but right now I haven't seen that yet, because what I'm getting, they want to show me that she was struggling because she was like holding this on his head, and he's trying to push her hands away. So he's trying to push her arm, he's trying to push her chest, but he's not strong enough, and she's holding it down, and she's trying to get this duct tape. She's trying to use her teeth to get duct tape with one hand while she's trying to hold his neck. She's trying to squish his neck, hold the bag on his neck, but he's trying to fight her. He's trying to I don't know if he can really scratch, but he's trying to get her away, push her away. He's struggling, so it's not being as easy as she wanted. That's when the guy, whoever's there, that's when the guy comes across, and he And he holds the face. Now he's got his whole hand over the face and his hand over the neck, while she's pulling out this duct tape now, and she's wrapping duct tape around where his neck is. But at the same time, this guy's just trying to, now he's putting his knee across his neck, trying to squish his neck and trying to cover his hand in his face. And he's like, shaking his body, and urinates on himself. And he's wearing pajamas when all this happens. He's not in bed, but he's wearing pajamas. Flannel pajamas. They might be what's dark blue with little moons and stars on them. I'm not sure. Don't get me on that. I'm not positive, but I do definitely feel they are flannel pajamas. The pattern on them might not be correct because they've shown me, now I see 2 or 3, which kind of tells me I don't have that part right. That's what I'm starting to get off. Every group of spirits works a little different. That's the thing. Okay.
Was JJ buried whole? Was he buried in one piece, or was he dismembered also?
There's no way Alex didn't want to do that again. That's so gross. That too grossed him out. That grossed him out. The killing part didn't bother him. The seeing the intestines and stuff bothered him.
At the time of JJ's
they cut open her belly, even like really good
pieces
stick.
of Tylee being stored in a freezer, or had they already been dispersed? Can you show me how Tylee's body was at the time of JJ's death?
I feel like some pieces of Tylee were wrapped up in white butcher paper and stored in the deep freezer. Maybe at Chad's house. I don't know. Yeah. So he would have told just marked it that it was for somebody else's, and Tammy wouldn't have said anything. And he put it in the deep freezer. Hey, this is for so-and-so, whatever. And I got spirit energy. I actually got a little bit of chills on my legs about that. Did Chad store part of Tylee's body pieces? And did Chad also get rid of some of Tylee's body pieces? They haven't shown me that yet. I mean, they did a long time ago, but we'll see this time. Every time's new, just brand new, fresh, blank.
If they were buried separately in completely separate areas, can you show me the location where JJ was buried? If he was buried up off an embankment or by a river or by a lake, can you please find a sign? Or like if it was Snake River, can you find a snake? If it was...
There's definitely bushes that are about 2 or 3 feet high there. Where they buried JJ. The reason I say that is once they put the dirt back over, they're putting these bushes back on there to regrow. So that it'll grow over like no one will be able to tell anything was buried there. Chad shows me how to make the mound so that, because he knows how much will sink in. So he knows you put it up, in a mound, and then put it, and then within a, short amount of time, it'll be flat. And they flattened it. They once they put the bushes in, they flattened it. They actually did quite a bit of work to make it cover up. They didn't just bury it in the dirt and leave. By it, I mean the body.
Please show me every single landmark now in relationship to the burial of JJ that could possibly help literally locate his body?
There's this little cross. I'm seeing a little headstone cross, like you would see at a graveyard. I'm seeing it, feels like you drive by it by the 2-lane road. And Lori says something like, I'll just remember my little JJ there. Close enough, like that or something like. But it feels like when you leave the area where you buried JJ, it feels like off to the right is a very small old graveyard, which probably, I don't know if there would be room in it anymore. Just some remnant of the past. Lori's singing like, I'm free and freedom stinks of reality. She's like happy. She's like celebrating. She's free now. She's free. She doesn't have feelings of remorse or guilt or sadness or anything.
Has JJ's remains been buried at the same time, or if they were buried separately? If they were buried separately, can you please show me the location or locations where Tylee's remains were either buried or scattered?
I feel like they're near each other. I feel like Chad Daybell, I'm seeing Chad. Chad may have actually went and spread the body parts of Tylee. I'm not sure about that. I'm not having any energy at all, but I see him doing it. I see him doing it, putting him in different bushy areas, and I think where they think they made it small enough where animals will just take him away. It's an area Chad feels very comfortable in. I feel like Lori, Alex, and Chad, while they go there to disperse body parts of Tylee, they begin to dig the hole for JJ, but JJ's not dead yet. But Alex is like, I don't want to do that again. He's not into the whole chopping people up thing, and so that's why they're digging the hole for JJ. It's not, there's no emotional attachment either way to what they're doing. It's the three of them, though.
My work with Tylee, Charles, Tammy, and Joe Ryan had been going on for several weeks. Now, if you remember, the pandemic was just flaring up at that time. I felt a little guilty because I'm spending my time helping these people, and I got 5 murders, but I'm helping these people, spirit people, when there's millions of people on the planet and they're terrified, and possibly I could use my skills to help more people. And on a meditation, one of my spirit guides came through, and I saw her very clearly with my third eye. And she told me that I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing, and that I needed to make sure the remains of these children were found, because these adults had killed the children in the name of God, and that would not be tolerated. That was the exact communication she gave me. And she said, then the other 50% of your mission is to prove the afterlife, to tell the world about it, tell the world and prove the afterlife. And that is my mission. That's what I'm doing. If you're looking for what motivates me, that is what motivates me. In 2014, one of my mentors told me that if we could prove the afterlife to the world, then a lot of the problems in the world would work themselves out. So that was a hope. And I don't know if it's true, but I took on that mission. And when my spirit guide told me that that was what I was supposed to be doing, I took it to heart. That is what I'm doing. That is my motivation. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you for staying with me today again. My name is Psychic Reverend Donna Seraphina. I have a corresponding Facebook group under the same name as this channel if you'd like to discuss the situation more. If you press a like and leave a comment, YouTube will share the video. And if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll be notified of any new uploads. I'd like to tell you about my book. It's called Afterlife Exploration. And if you look on Amazon, just put Psychic Reverend Donna Seraphina, you'll see it, Afterlife Exploration. And it covers all real information that on my personal journey after the death of my daughter that I learned to communicate with spirit in ways that I had never realized that human beings could do. And every single thing in there is from personal experience and learning. So there's nothing in there that's been repeated or written down through the ages. This is all information that I may have found from being written down from the ages, but I know actually works.